So it looks like we are back from our break. Everyone, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time this evening as we're going to just keep on rolling and jump right on into game number 6 here. It's going to be Miraculous Gaming's Elize versus Overdose Gaming 2 Drunk, a PvZ once again.
Yes, that's right. So 2 Drunk from Overdosed Gaming. He's the captain of the Overdose Gaming StarCraft 2 division. He's a multiple-time Masters Zerg player, and apparently recently coming back from a long break. He's a good macro player. And from Miraculous Gaming, we have Elize. Is that how you pronounce it? Anybody in chat, feel free to correct our pronunciation of names, by the way. A Korean Grandmaster's toss... I'm sorry, Grandmaster on Korean server. And he plays a diverse style and previous StarCraft 2 programmer, so he knows the ins and outs of the game from the underpinnings of the code.
Dun dun dun. All right, and with that, thank you for introducing those teams. We're going to jump right on in as I hit the button to do that. Switching our sides in the... This is going to be one of those maps that are made by the map-making team Galaxy that we're partnered with them to provide those maps in the map pool. They are pretty awesome maps, but on Galaxy Viridian in the upper right-hand corner wearing the red carapace this game, it is representing the Zerg race and Overdose Gaming 2 Drunk. Hopefully not too drunk for this game.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, a former StarCraft 2 programmer, Miraculous Gaming's Elize.
I think by programmer they mean like competitive player in that sense.
It says literally programmer. Elize. Elize.
Ellie, or is it Elize?
Elize.
There we go.
Thank you.
Elize.
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 All right.
Elize puts a pylon next to his Nexus here, so as to keep it safe. Gateway going down right on next to it. This is a different than normal build, as we usually see these things at the ramp here. Obviously not too concerned because this is a big map. He is sending a probe out to a... I think this is a 4-player map, so not aware that it's cross spawns. I'm not sure if it actually forces cross or not. Troy maybe can confirm, he probably knows. But nonetheless, a probe is out on the map to scout out. Pool is down and in production.
Yeah, we see the spawning pool. We see a gas. There is no quick natural, which is not the assumed play on a map this large. Typically, you would take your quick expansion and then get your spawn pool, and sometime later get gas. But he's going straight for that gas right away here. So we're going to be seeing some early aggression.
Honestly, on a map this big, I kind of like this play from Zerg to get the speedlings up really quick. It lets you be aggressive, especially in the instance where Elize has not walled himself off at all, so the Zerglings kind of have free reign. So, I mean, if he gets a good number of lings here, speed just now starting, so he's going to be able to do that. If he can get a good number of lings, shouldn't have a whole lot of opposition getting into the base here.
The probe was able to get in there and scout what was going on, even saw the metabolic boost being researched, so he knows kind of what is happening. Probe going down to block a natural expansion, and the drone is right there trying to force him out of the way.
Oh, does put down a pylon there, so that's really going to delay it. He's going to have to actually whack away at that pylon for a little bit, and the probe will live to see another day. He does run on away. 3 overlords around the map, moving out to cover a sweeping path of all of the various attack paths to make sure the pylon does get canceled. Looks like that hatchery is going to go down here soon. Spent some of that original money he meant to spend that on, but it does make its way down. Zerglings chasing down the probe. They do have just ever so slight, I can't remember what it is. It's a very, very slight move speed advantage turns, that...
If the probe turns, then they get a whack at it.
Yeah. Queen standing out there to going to come back and inject. Looks like he has stopped mining gas though, so he just wants to get a lot of lings and speed as that is about to finish. Several lings approaching the base here, 8 more in production, so this is actually going to be pretty wide open. There is 1 sentry at the top of the ramp for Elize. Does have, just barely whiffs the force field there, allowing those lings to get on up. Does kill the sentry. 1 remains after the mothership core takes several whacks at it.
And that's gotta hurt as Elize there. That's not exactly what you want to have happen. And I mean, at this point in the game, Those sentries are kind of a big deal, but more so it's just kind of like a pride thing, like I whiffed it, you know, like you just gotta try and bounce back from that disappointment and how that worked.
Yeah, this is a little bit different of a build that we're seeing. I mean, now just setting up a wall at the expansion here, relying purely on the sentries at the ramp, which could be more efficient, but it's you got to really be watching really quickly to get that reaction time. But Ling's really putting some pressure on this expansion. Sentries not wanting to get out too much because he does not want to lose those, as they are what's going to keep him alive if these Lings swing around here. Looks like the base will come up and survive. Ling's pushed back by the Mothership Core and those two sentries, so nice hold there by Elize.
Yeah, and now that the Nexus is up, it can be a target for Photon Overcharge. We should be seeing that going down, and there it is. But there's so much damage, the shields didn't have time to recharge, and oh my goodness, it's gonna fall.
Yeah, good move by Two Drunk. I mean, it was smart by Elize to kind of keep his sentries where he were. He didn't want to move out too far, knowing that it was getting low. Wanted to be sure to be able to keep those sentries there so the Lings did not make it into his base, because that would be GG if that would happen.
Absolutely. This is a lot of Lings. He's made more even in his moving back in the Mothership Core, trying to do whatever he can, and he's just moving past that at this point. Oh, tried to get in. A couple did get past those force fields, but they were not able to do much. Going back for the Nexus again, that is going to be canceled, and the Lings are going to run out. And this is just good harassment here, if nothing else.
It really is. I mean, Two Drunk really needs to keep this pressure up, because now he's getting his third base up as well. If he can continue to keep this down, I mean, with this many Lings, it really you can kill a Nexus so fast, and especially with Elize having really only sentries and now Twilight Council about to finish. Curious to see what he's going to have coming out of that, but Elize is just going to be just focused on trying to get this base down here.
No joke, and I mean, the amount of times that he's had to cancel it this far, he probably could have built another Nexus with.
It's true. But this also giving Two Drunk lots of time to be able to do what he wants at home. Now Layer coming down as well. So he's going to be moving into some higher tech, has started mining gas out of that one geyser once again. Third base has just finished. Now we'll begin to... Actually, it's kind of sad when you see that creep move out, choking out all the pretty grass. But at least the flowers can apparently grow through the creep. So that's a good thing.
Dark Shrine on its way down for Elize, feeling a little bit backed into a corner, needs something to give him some space.
Yeah, and you know, there's the saying is went behind Dark Shrine for a reason, because Elize is definitely behind by a long shot this game. And if he can get these DTs to really land, it could really help him out. A couple of hallucinated Phoenixes coming out to scout around to see maybe where the weak points are to send those DTs in. Overlord was moving here a couple minutes ago. I thought it might be swinging through the main base to get a scout on, but doesn't look like it. Rock's being taken down at Two Drunk's base too to help him have some mobility with those Lings.
That's right. That Overlord that was going in by Two Drunk did get taken down by sentries, and it was killed before it did see the Dark Shrine, so he has no idea that that's coming.
There's a sacrificial probe there in between those two pylons that got in a bad spot. Looks like the hallucinated Phoenix doing their best to do no damage to the Overlords as they continue to scout on around their Hydralisk Den coming out. Roach upgrades coming through as well.
But Dark Shrines are on the... Or, sorry, Dark Templar are now on the map, and they are on the move.
And there so far is not any detection. He does have layers, so he does have the ability to make an Overseer out of these Overlords, but it does take time. So without knowing that that Dark Shrine exists, these DTs will have a bit of a surprise advantage. There is one going into the third base, and looks like one now being split into one at every base. Very smart by Two Drunk, as it forces him to make Overseers at every single base. A Dark Templar at every single one of your bases is really, really difficult to deal with.
Absolutely, especially when there's very little detection too. Four Overseers.
Spore Crawler was at the third base, but the Dark Templar took it down just as the Queen was about to kill it. So that Dark Templar does continue to live. A little bit of poking going on there, it looked like, at the main base there. Dark Templar is still alive. Overseer comes over and reveals it.
But it was able to do a lot of damage while it was there.
Wow, that got 20 drone kills for Elize.
That is what you like to see.
Yes. So looking at the numbers real quick, 49 probes to 40 drones. So what did we say about needing to get back from being behind?
Yeah, he was able to definitely push his influence around the map a little bit more, give himself some space, and get back into this game.
Definitely a great success, as Blink is coming down as well. Stalker's starting to warp in. Still a very large number of sentries here. He has enough force fields to keep things in check for quite a while. A couple changelings coming in to keep tabs on things that are going on. It is interesting, though, that cannons are detectors, but I'm surprised they don't. I've always wondered why they don't detect changelings.
Right.
Side note there. But now it looks like Two Drunk is beginning to get his wits about him as he's starting to move out through the map. Couple more changelings there running around. Ling's heading out in front of the roaches. I mean, this is a good time for him to push out. I mean, you can kind of tell he had his timings. He delayed the expansions of Elzay quite a bit, and now he's wanting to move out so that Elzay does not indeed take a fourth. Which it looks like he's attempting to do as he has a probe down here, but there's an Overlord creeping up his pretty grassy knoll.
Elzay is trying to do some more harassment. There's a Zealot moving towards some Hydras. That's going to get picked off before doing much of anything. Dark Templar did move into the third base, was spotted by that Queen, and Spore Crawler was chased away.
Yeah, looking at the Workers Guild, it is still 22, so not a whole lot more damage done there, but Elzay now looking down to put this third base. Getting a couple of cannons down ahead of the Nexus. Does not want to go through the same struggle he did last time. Hallucinated Phoenix still very useful to scout out his opponent. So we're seeing some more upgrades. +2 attack, Immortals, and it's going to be eventually Colossus here as a robotics facility going down. Lots of sentry energy to keep producing these hallucinated Phoenix. Going to give him lots of information. I'm not sure if he knows exactly that third base is there, but my gut would tell me that he would suspect it.
Absolutely.
Well, now he certainly knows
moving in.
Yeah, but was able to hold it off there, but it wasn't quite as huge of a batch of Lings, but starting to pool up his resources here in the center of the map. Although Elzay is supply blocked.
Looking to definitely move out on that position, that third base position, wants to try and slow his opponent's economy down as much as he can. And in go the Lings as the first strike force. The Stalkers are coming in, and Zealot Changelings are moving around the back, trying to corral these units a little bit, if possible, get some scouting done, but they get picked off real quick.
No secrets there. No worse feeling than killing an actual Zealot when you're trying to kill a Changeling. But Two Drunk here is now starting to expand a little more. Yeah, he has been kind of aggressive out on the map. Elzay hasn't really gotten much pressure put on besides the Dark Templar, but really going for just a massively strong ground force here. He's getting +3 attack in now, while the Zerg opponent Two Drunk sits at just +1. For each.
Elzay now moving a strike force of 4 Zealots across the left side of the map, expecting to run into a fourth base. They are not going to be finding it, but they will find 2 Overlords that will scout their incoming nature.
It's definitely good that he's keeping that going a little bit to try and keep some presence on the map. With a map this hard, it is really difficult to keep some pressure on. Dark Templar there is continuing to whack away at the drones, but there is the detection there, but does manage to edge out 13 more drone kills, so it's been tough for Two Drunk to just kind of keep his economy going. And as Zerg, obviously, you know that you really have to choose between army or economy, so definitely making his... you kind of get the sense that he wanted to make a push there when it was a good timing before the upgrades got too stacked against him, but that window's sort of closed now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, he's having a hard time, like you said, keeping his economy going, and he's been forced to sit on mid-game units for far longer than he wanted to. It's obvious that he wants to get into more Mutalisk play, but just doesn't have the income to do it.
Yeah, Templar Archives now coming down, so we're going to see some storms eventually, but this is a pretty good-looking army we see from Elzay. Lots of Blink, Stalkers, Sentries, Immortals, and a Colossus with +3 attack now done, starting his armor upgrades as well. So this is going to be a pretty formidable force as the food is even between these two. And looking at the units, the drone count is definitely still in favor of Elzay. So we will see as it looks like he wants to push the issue as he moves on up here. This Colossus is going to do a ton of damage with these and also allow these Blink Stalkers to move around a little bit more freely, jumping on into that natural expansion.
And Two Drunk's army is kind of running around the other direction. Mutas are hitting the main base hard, so this is a base trade, folks. The Elzay knew what he was getting into. He had a hallucinated Phoenix over his opponent's army, but both armies are now just ravaging the base. It looks like Elze has decided to retreat back home, as two armies at once are a little bit hard to defend against.
Definitely a smart move by Elze, I think. I mean, he's definitely was ahead there for a bit. With that recall, Colossus was in a bit of a bad position, getting set almost right in the middle of the Zerg army. Now 2 Colossus doing a lot of damage from the back, but as Elze was ahead, very smart for him to pull back and just defend what he has, and then he can make his push when he lives to see another day.
But that mutant count is over 20 now, and it is doing major damage to the main infrastructure in the base of Elze.
And Colossus, unfortunately, aren't going to be able to do anything against that. All the big tech structures now going down. This is definitely turning in the favor of 2Drunk now. These Mutalisks starting to stack up here very quickly. But now with the third base still alive for 2Drunk, for Elze, he can't go back into his main base to do anything about these Lings. He's losing his entire infrastructure now.
Yeah, and he's in a real tough position. He does have a single Dark Templar that's doing some damage to a 4th base. It is going to get that killed before going down. But he's got to deal with these mutas somehow, and he's lost the majority of his infrastructure. It's going to be very difficult for him to do so.
Yeah, 2Drunk was just, I feel like he definitely made the right choice here. And his unit composition, because that main army of his pulled the army of Elze, which he was unable to split up to defend that, while just letting these mutas absolutely go to town. I mean, he did lose a base, but so far it does not seem to be affecting him all that much.
Not at all, and these mutas are just not going down. There's nothing really challenging them, and he's been able to take out the majority of the infrastructure so that his opponent is forced to spend money on buildings and not on units.
It's still just crazy that he is doing a good job of keeping Elze busy defending that third base, and these mutas, I hate to say that I've not seen often I mean, this isn't the most gigantic batch of mutas ever, but Elze just can't spare the units to go up and defend.
Stormtrooper. But he doesn't even have the right buildings anymore to make the right types of units. You know, you'd want, ideally, to have High Templars with Storm there, but he just doesn't have the infrastructure to get that done.
Yeah, and 2Drunk not continuing to research any upgrades, just going for number of units here as he smells that he's gaining the advantage back. But that +3 attack, you do not want to take that for granted with these Archons on the field against those Mutalisks.
Absolutely. And that Archon number is starting to grow. He's got 3 there now, but he's got to be careful. I mean, he's supply blocked. He's got to keep building buildings and not spending money on units like he would like to do.
Yeah, and there is a Photon Overcharge available here. Not that that's going to make a world of difference, but still having to stay huddled in tight to his buildings here, building a wall of cannons on the... Oh, sorry, that's pylons. Thought it was a wall of cannons to defend on that other side, but not quite yet. There's a Dark Templar over there warping in Stalkers, because really that's all he can warp in right now.
And in the meantime, 2Drunk is continuing to expand across the map, taking more bases, trying to keep his economy alive while he does put the stranglehold on his opponent.
He has retaken his natural as well. There is still a significant amount of minerals left there. Putting up a Spore Crawler to defend against those DTs, as they are still a factor on the field. A Overlord creeping up a potential 4th base for Elze, but let's be honest, he has bigger fish to fry right now with these Mutalisks still in his base, taking out the Twilight Council and the Dark Shrine, so DTs will no longer be a factor.
And the Archon count is now as high as it's going to get. It is at 3.
Yeah, so, the tables have turned a couple times in this match. Now, definitely looking like Elze is going to have a really tough time coming back from this. I don't want to write him out, but it's not looking so good.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the infrastructure. He doesn't have an answer to those mutas at the moment, and he's on 1 base. And so he's going to have to pull a miracle out to pull this game out.
Yeah, we have seen it happen once before last season when we pretty much wrote a player off and they ended up coming back. Well, we will see indeed what happens, but these Mutalisks just able to be exactly what 2Drunk needs right now, just able to keep a scouting around presence on the map. And man, with that Overlord speed upgrade, those Overseers really book through the air. They can keep up with the Mutalisks, which is pretty insane.
Yep. Pretty useful, but now Elze trying to blink forward, get a few pot shots off on those Mutalisks, not really able to get a whole lot done. Once again approaching his supply cap, putting down that pylon once again to keep trying to move into this next base, try and expand now that he's rebuilt his main in his 3rd base position.
You know, I was going to mention it after the last game, that I was surprised that we've made it through 2 weeks of SC2CTL and have not seen any swarm hosts, and that record is going to end right now.
Absolutely. As the swarm hosts are in production, Enduring Locust is about to finish. So, deciding on the siege method of breaking into this final base.
And Elze attempting to take another base here, just unable to. Those Mutalisks can just bolt in and kill that so fast, even with the Blink Stalkers. And Elze is actually doing a good job of keeping the Changelings under control, as he's not really warping in any Zealots, as Zealots are not so good against Mutalisks. But there are still a decent number of Lings and Roaches on the field, continuing to move around as well.
There is a single Zealot that was able to spot those swarm hosts, so he's going to have knowledge of it for whatever good that's able to do him.
And especially not having a Robo, he's not going to have any detection here.
No, and it looks like he's realizing that, starting to move out. But his army split up into two directions. That's not how you want it to go. Does blink forward to try and get some shots on those Mutalisks, but he needs to group his army back together.
And now, honestly, he's trying to move in a way to try and force those Mutalisks to the north, because he doesn't have to pull back all the way to defend his base. He did send half of them back, it looked like, to try and cover that. But Stormhouse now moving in are going to attempt to kill this Archon and or Colossus, but that is going to be just impossible for Elze to deal with.
Doing the swarm host shuffle as well, burrowing them long enough for them to spit out their locusts, then unburrowing and walking away.
But it looks like Elze is going to go ahead and force the issue. I feel like in a base trade that 2 Drunk is going to be just a little bit favored, as a 2 Drunk owns half the map and Elze is confined to the 6 o'clock position here. Ling's running in. Mutalisks take out the Mothership Core right away. No Photon Overcharge for him. But pretty much the everything of Zerg is now bearing down on Elze as he moves in across the map as well.
Absolutely, and there aren't really any hidden locations of buildings. It looks like there is an assimilator going down now on the left-hand side of the map, but he's got to really keep those buildings alive if he wants to keep his army in this game, as one of the win conditions, as I'm sure you're all well aware, is destroying all the buildings. Actually, it's the only actual win condition of the game. Yeah,
and Elze, or 2 Drunk, now feeling comfortable enough with the force he has down here, separates the mutas off to see where the army of Elze is, although it's no secret because he is on creep moving in here. This is quite the formidable force from Elze, but it's going to be a little bit too late, as the is only down to, it looks like 1. Oh, he did put a Nexus down here in the corner, so that is still a secret. So 2 Drunk is going to have to find that Nexus, but so far Elze avoiding elimination from this game, but we'll see how long that can last.
Absolutely, as 2 Drunk's army is rifling their way across the map, putting down more bases, looking for any sign of buildings, are able to find that assimilator, and they will be taking that out. A probe, or a drone, was able to kill a probe, but not before it put down a second assimilator. But there is still no vision on that Nexus that is going to be finishing up in the northeast or west side of the map.
And there were 3 swarm hosts that were just kind of hanging out there. Those sort of important for 2 Drunk right now, as those are his sort of ace in the hole, as Elze does not have any detection. Almost one more. I wonder almost with the Colossus in this sense. If yes, actually, the Colossus doing damage to the Locust sitting on top of the swarm host does in fact damage the swarm host burrowed. Interesting.
So 2 Drunk is actually kind of dropping the ball here. He's losing a lot of his infrastructure, and this is starting to look more like an even match. These Mutalisks forced to move forward. That is the last probe, I believe.
Oh, this is actually really good for Elze, as those Locusts spawning right on top of the swarm host with the army sitting right there do not move out, and did end up killing 1 swarm host, and the other 2 are in the red. So as these Locusts pop out, he will kill those swarm hosts if he targets those Locusts, and he does.
But now the last Nexus has been found. It is about to be destroyed, and that will end the game.
GG. Love to see a game that goes down to the last building, and honestly, that's probably one of the most back and forth games we've seen in a while.
Absolutely. I mean, Elze did way more damage than I expected him to at the end of that game. I mean, there really were only 2 more hatcheries left for 2 Drunk when that Nexus went down. So it really ended up being actually very close.
I actually thought we were going to eat our words there a little bit, saying that it only happened, or I guess I won't put you on the spot. I'll almost eat my words, saying that only happened once before, but definitely a good game was there, and Mutalisk definitely a factor too in being able to find hidden buildings, as they're pretty fast and can scout out all the things pretty well. But actually, that was interesting too, realizing that with those swarm hosts like that, a single Colossus, you're not necessarily written out of the game if you can get your army on top of the swarm host to keep those locusts right there. But with that, that is going to put us at the score of 3-2 in favor of Overdose Gaming. So it has actually truly been entirely back and forth. No team has had a 2-point lead throughout this entire series so far. Overdose coming out and taking the lead first, then Miraculous Gaming coming back and taking a lead of their own. Overdose now taking it back. So we will be headed into game number 7.
Game number 7, yeah.
Yep, game number 7. So
when you have a 3-3, you must have played 6 games.
Well, I accidentally choked up on myself there. I said 3-2, so I lost my pot there for a minute. But nonetheless, We're going to take a break here real quick, get ourselves organized and all set up. We're going to be going to the ace match for both teams. And Gallegation, I confused myself a little bit, but you had it the other day. Will you explain to us how the Game 7 player selection works?
So the Game 7 player selection, they